Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melissa Caprio.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. It's Wednesday. How's everybody doing? I love being here on Wednesdays with you guys, and I always have the most interesting conversations and the most interesting guests. And today is going to be that again. I have author, and her new book is called What's Going On with My Family, A Roadmap to Healing Trauma, Unlocking Your Hidden Power and Remembering What is Sacred, Dr. Kelly Bohnhoff. And she's going to join me in just a few minutes. And I'm sure all of you listening can relate, right? If you have, there's always some family stuff going on, right? We're always reliving it too as we get older in our relationship. So we're going to talk a lot about that. But I just want to share a little bit about me if this is the first time you are joining my show. So what we do is we record the show. You're listening to the show if you're here on May 29th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You're listening to the show live. But we do take each show and we put it up on the Om Times archives, and you can listen to the shows there anytime you like. And I also take the show and put it on my website, postcardstotheuniverse.com, under podcasts, and you can listen to the shows at your leisure. Now, if you are joining for the first time and you like me and you like the style of my show and you want to see what else other shows that I've had, just go over there and check them out. And they're all listed, and in the description, you'll know what each show is about. And I hope that you do. I am also an author myself, and I have a book titled Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. And in my book, I like to talk about manifesting, and I'm also a photographer. So what I did is I had people create a manifesting postcard, like a mini vision board, and I would photograph it. And when their manifestation on their postcard showed up in their reality, I shared their story along with the photo that I took of their postcard. And it was so fun putting the book together. Let me tell you, I have all these exercises and I have all these fun I would say like games to do to manifest in areas of love or money or for better health, your career. So that's the way I laid the book out. And the book came out in 2019, right at the end of 2019, right before COVID. And I can't believe, like, 5 years. So what I decided I wanted to do, since I'm coming up to the 5-year mark, is I wanted to take the original postcards that were in the book and I re-photographed them. And I've been sharing them each week. I share a thing, I call it a magical message, and I take a postcard with an affirmation. And I like to share it each week. It's just something to put more positivity into the world. And that's what I like to share on my social media. So I decided, why not re-photograph the postcards that were in the book? And I did that. And I've also decided, why not start reading the book online? So I'm doing that also on my social media. I'm breaking them up in small videos, 5 minutes. I read the stories. I share the postcards. I talk about the book. So if you're interested, stop on by. And if you do stop on by, Instagram, TikTok, I have it on LinkedIn, and I'm putting them on YouTube. But if you do stop by on Instagram, TikTok, please let me know that you're there. Give me a little like and say hi and share with your friends. I would love it, because that book, God, it just means so much to me. And it was so fun putting it together. And people's stories are amazing. So, like I said, each week I share a magical message, and I rephotographed the 30 postcards that were in the book. And now I'm photographing other postcards with the affirmation and a blog post. I'm starting to add blog posts to the affirmations that I'm putting out instead of just the image with the affirmation on it. And this week's is I am an advocate for social justice. And somebody sent this postcard in, and that is what they're working on. So we talk about that, and you can see the image that I created on all the social medias or on postcardstotheuniverse.com. Everything is on there, so you can go to everything that I'm doing on there. I have a couple of workshops that I'm doing on there too. You can check those out, and I keep asking each week for you guys listening to send me a manifesting postcard. Please do so. If you have any questions, reach out to me. All the information is on postcardstotheuniverse.com, along with the address of where to send it. Okay, so let me bring out my guest. Let me get to my guest today, Dr. Kelly Bohnhoff. Amidst the world's current trauma, Dr. Kelly Bohnhoff stands as an empathetic guide with a history of childhood adversity and sex trafficking, coupled with over 35 years of expertise as a registered nurse, a licensed marriage and family therapist, and she's the co-founder of Josephine's Clinic, a nonprofit serving those who have experienced human trafficking and violence. She unveils her own spiritual awakening. In her new book, What's Going On with My Family? A Roadmap to Healing Trauma, Unlocking Your Hidden Power, and Remembering What is Sacred, it is your North Star to an extraordinary expedition, a transformative journey that will rewrite the story of your family for generations to come. Together, we embark on a quest to unravel the deep-seated roots of family trauma, shedding light on the unhealthy patterns that have persisted through countless generations. Drawing inspiration from Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, we venture into uncharted territory, a realm of growth, healing, remembrance, and the awakening of your hidden potential, your sacred nature. Prepare for an odyssey of profound self-discovery and empowerment that will forever reshape your family's destiny. Doesn't that sound amazing? It is amazing. So if you want to find out more while you're listening, if you can, you want to check out our website. It is onesacredfamily.com. Hi, Dr. Kelly. Thanks so much for being here with me today.
I'm so happy to be here, Melissa. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, good. So why don't you share with us a little bit about your journey and, what made you want to get into this kind of work? Because it says in your bio that you've had your own spiritual awakening. So can you share that with us?
Sure. So, like most traumatized children, I parachuted in to a family of my choosing. And there was a lot that we wanted to heal. So there's ancestral trauma and karma that the ticket to the show was we didn't remember, right? So the amnesia
Right.
when we come in. So I jumped in to the family. So I was the firstborn of four, and in the early 1960s. And when I was little, I kind of jumped into what I call the shark tank of energy. And it's that energy we feel around us that's just saturated in fear. Now, we don't know when we're little that we're in energy or that we are energy. And so I had three things that I immediately knew were important. The first was to help my mother feel better, to help my father feel safe. Third was to keep my siblings safe. Those were kind of the very first things that I knew that were important. And as I got just a little bit older, I started asking was, why are children being hurt by those who have an opportunity to love them and keep them safe? And it was that question that really drove my own curiosity about what we were all doing here, especially kind of what was going on in my own family. And what I had realized later as I was navigating the vulnerable space was at the age of 10, I went on an overnight And because of the adversity in childhood, I did what many of us do who are empathic that don't know it. I ended up dissociating my mind, body, and spirit. So trauma, in my view, in my experience, personally and professionally, is any life event that causes shock or distress to the mind, body, and spirit to remain in balance. And so because of that immediate in my family of origin, I immediately lost sense of connection with my sacred, meaning worthy of unconditional love, devotion, and reverence. So at the age of 10, right, and I didn't have connection to my what I call inner guidance system. So I'm sure it was screaming at me not to go to the overnight, but I went to the overnight. And in that connection to the overnight, I was what I call caught in a web of unspeakable experiences. And what was happening in that particular family was trafficking. Now, I didn't understand as I walked into that world that when children are vulnerable, I know one of the things in my own energetic imprint was my own safety was less important than the safety of others. In other words, it felt to me as the firstborn, I had already figured out I really need to keep my siblings safe. So those that were in that family picked up on the fact that I would do anything to protect my friend, my own siblings. So trafficking, the idea of trafficking, it's not really what people understand that we see in the media. There is a subtle nuance to this trafficking, which is force, fraud, and coercion. You know, there was absolute force. The coercion was, if you tell anyone, we'll come after your siblings. And the fraud was this dance that is done around, you are so beautiful, you are so lovely, right? So whenever I was caught in the web of that particular dynamic, it lasted for another couple of years, and it wasn't until I moved from that area that I was able to have any distance from it. Now, we can imagine, though, the intensity of the energy of that experience, and it was something that I understood much later in my own awakening that I had chosen to master the energy of. In other words, the ancestral trauma around the energy of trafficking was something that my family and I had come to heal, along with the childhood adversity. And so it was amazing for me once I understood that I was energy, my family was energy, we are infinite intelligence, pure love, and sacred energy here having a human experience, and that the six of us, my mother, father, and the four of us, myself and three siblings, had a plan. And that plan was to heal ancestral trauma and karma. And the themes were the themes that I did experience, did heal through, and are now holding the energetic for healing, not just in myself and my family, but in anyone who comes within my awareness. So energetically, that is why I navigated straight into nursing and into marriage and family therapy with the specific, if this was unconscious or subconscious, I didn't realize I was not awake until the age of 57. And so it took me some time to, actually the energy of stubbornness was also something. I was pretty stubborn. I was hearing the whispers of take a right. I was hearing the whispers of you're more than you know. I was hearing whispers, but then it kind of got a tap on the shoulder. Then I got a hip check. Then I got the shovel to the face, which was finally I'm here. There's something else going on. And so the awakening at age 57 now finally allowed me the opportunity to see these events from a much higher, much more empowered level. So that is kind of the quickest way I know how to give you a bumper sticker of the journey.
Now, interesting you made, and I've heard this, I believe this, I've had other people say this. You said the family of my choosing. So you made these choices before from your higher self to come into this life and to heal those things. So let me ask you, why do you think that we would need to deal with something like incest and sex trafficking with children? Why would we want to come here on this planet and have that, which is so traumatizing? I mean, many of us have had trauma as children, but many people have not had to deal with sex trauma as a child the way that you've had with your family. Why would we want to do that? I mean, I don't know if you can
Yeah.
answer that question,
Yeah,
but maybe you have like an insight because it's something you're
I,
dealing
I,
with. Hmm.
I do. I
Okay.
do. And so I really appreciate this question. Women's perspective. Nine.
Wait, I'm going to pause
With,
you, Dr. Kelly. I'm going to pause you for a
uh,
second. Can you hear me? I'm
yeah.
going to pause you. Yeah, you're going in and out. So, Chris, let's take our commercial break now. And Dr. Kelly, do me a favor. Hang up
Yeah.
and call back in when we do our commercial. Let's do it a little
Okay.
early because I really want to hear this answer. Like you start off a little wonky and then you come back. All right, so stay tuned, guys. We're going to get her back on. So all right, so
Okay.
we'll be back in a couple minutes. Okay, bye.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Everyone has a story. I have a story. You have a story. We all have a story. As I see it, you have three choices. Allow your story to define you, use it to excuse you, or utilize it as a method to empower you. It's your life. You have the power. You choose. Rewrite your story on finduniquelyu.com.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
Hi, I'm Melissa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on Om Times Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives. Welcome back. So we paused a little earlier for our commercial break because Dr. Kelly, are you back?
I'm back. We left them with quite a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's weird because it sounds like you'll go a little wonky, and then when you start talking everything is good again. So I'm just going to let you talk. So I asked you why there's a higher perspective that about the sex trafficking, and I'm just going to let you answer. Go ahead. Hopefully we'll hear you nice
Yeah.
and clear. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I hope so as well. And so it makes sense that from our human perspective, we say, who would jump in here to do this?
Right.
There is such pain and trauma and survival, and so from a human perspective, that absolutely makes no sense at all. Now, imagine coming up, we're a bird flying a little higher, right in the air, and we're looking at our journey, kind of like a labyrinth, and our higher self, the one that is on the other side of awareness that we map this out with, is looking and trying to edge us through this process, not just as an individual, but as a family. So what our families are actually doing here from the highest perspective, and this is the prologue where the book starts, and the first line is, there was no turning back. Now, I want you to imagine that billions of souls over eons of time, which time is just for us here in humanland, wanted the opportunity to balance, to understand this idea of heavy energy and lighter energy, or darkness and light. And so we jump in with amnesia, and we're like, well, this is a canvas that has not been painted yet. So we have no idea that we're infinite intelligence, pure love, and sacred energy inside these families. Now, all of our families jumped into a certain part of this timeline. So from the very beginning, when the very first amnesia kind of started and we forgot who we were, and where the free will of others started to be impacted. And if you really want to take a race of people or humanity, and you want to dial down, and dumb down their energy, the very first thing you're going to do is move the energy or impact the energy of innocence. So as children are being harmed, so we've gone from harm to harmony. So as children who had forgotten who they were taken, the power was taken over of their sovereignty. Well, that trauma began long time ago, along with other traumas. So the greatest wound that humanity is healing is this idea of separation. The second is judgment. And then the third is just honoring of self, family, others in the world, and the natural world. So what is it that our families are actually doing here? And what in the world with children across? So trafficking of children is still one of the most ancient wounds that we're healing. So if you want to bring helplessness and powerlessness and helplessness energy to humanity, we will start with the children. And so what is happening here is that eons upon eons of collective ancestral trauma and karma in this lifetime is being healed by the bravest, most brilliant, most beautiful souls in all that is. That's who our families are. We are the Navy SEALs of the universe. We have come to heal family trauma forever. So we look at it from the perspective of victim of why are our children being hurt? That was my question. By those who have an opportunity to love them and keep them safe. Our snorkels have been under the energetic water of these heavier energies and are now in the Aquarian age, in the golden age, with all the support and help we're getting from our ancestors, galactic family light, all the solar energy coming in. We are remembering and awakening to who we truly are so that we can alchemize these heavy energies. So why in the world would I come in here as Dr. Kelly? It's because I knew this is my first rodeo, and most of our families Guys, this isn't your rodeo. You're remembering and awakening and healing the heaviest, densest energy rooted so that we could learn to love. And as we remember and awaken, we heal the energy for all time. And that creates a beautiful love energy, which is why the human spirit is the most unique in all that is. We are part of a sacred family. And to get to this realization, believe me, I'm very relieved to have remembered and awakened, because going through that chrysalis energy as a recovering caterpillar, right? And now I'm through that turbulence, and now I can bring another level of awareness to people who may be asking, why would I do this? Why is my family involved in incest, trafficking, violence, criminality, whatever? Just fill in the blank. It doesn't matter. We are sacred beings having a human experience. Why? Because we're strong enough to heal it. We're strong enough to remember and awaken, and we're strong enough to use that energy to heal our families forever.
Wow. Yeah, I never heard anybody describe it like that, but it gave me goosebumps when you were saying that, because if I can make sense of it, that helps me make sense of it, because I am thinking of it with my human brain, right? And my human emotions, not as this higher soul perspective and looking at the healing and healing this dense energy. But yeah, thank you. That helps quite a lot, actually. So you talk about something in your book, and you talk about these universal laws that every traumatized adult, parent, family should know, and why we should know that. Can you share a little bit more about what that is for the people that are listening?
Yes. Yeah, so I'll share the top 3 universal laws that I noticed in my own life, the life of my family, and in all the traumatized children, teens, and families that had the most impact.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it has to do with we're not aware that we're energy. We're not aware that every thought we think, every word we speak, every belief we hold, every emotion we feel, and every action we take sends a ripple of energy into the world. Now, had anyone shared that with us in kindergarten or at home, I believe we would certainly be echoing different higher levels of energy, right? Because it's our choice to do that. And when we're children, unless trauma has happened super early, most children hold on to their natural state of vibration and being.
Yes.
Now, and then once we get to preschool, once we get to first grade, by the age of 7-ish, we now are looking out into the world, and we are wanting to survive and conform. And we're wanting to please or be perfect or, peacekeeper or whatever all that is. We fall into the roles we chose to navigate through and understand the energy of. But the 3 universal laws that govern us as human beings, as sacred beings, that we did not know that were impacting us were these 3. The first was the law of oneness, which means that anything happening to me, anything I'm feeling, is happening to the entire family. We are all interconnected. So whether anybody chooses to talk about what happens to them, whatever energy they're holding, it's impacting our family, our community, our society, and the entire world, and into the galaxy, into the cosmos, and all that is. So the law of one. We are one. There's only one of us here. And we are the facets of personality and archetypes and energy of that one having a human experience. All right? And so law of one. So again, whether I talk about it or not, I am connected to everything and everyone. The
Right.
second is this cause and effect, the universal law of karma. Wow, this is a big one. This is the
Of
ancestral
course.
trauma and karma. And what is karma? For me, very simply, it's not punishment. It's any expression of life or lifetime that we have, which is happening right now, where I was unkind, unloving, unwise, unhealthy, or uncaring. And I didn't awaken to my nature in that particular expression. So the karma here is just me awakening and healing that unloving, unkind, unforgiving, so on and so forth, that I have experienced in other expressions of life in the now of this moment. And so if I am being unconsciously, subconsciously uncaring, unloving, unforgiving here in this moment of now with anyone, including myself, well, that's going to come around at some
Right.
point, right?
Of course.
And then the third is the law of resonance. And what does that mean? This was huge for me. So you love to talk about the magic of manifesting. Here's what I was doing subconsciously. Subconsciously, I had picked up the idea that I was unworthy, unlovable, and not enough. And that did not keep me from loving my parents. That was when I stopped loving myself.
Right.
And since I am life, I stopped loving life. And the minute I set that vibration in motion, I am unlovable, unworthy, and not enough, and I went out in the world to find all of that and gave my power away. Well, what the universe said was, oh, law of resonance and vibration. Okay, so Kelly, you want to have more unworthy, more unlovable, more not enough because you want to master the energy of that. So I was unconsciously, saying to the universe, who doesn't speak human, hey, just resonate my vibe. So the amount of trauma, more trauma, I was attracting to myself unaware that I am the master of energy and creation. So this is the biggest thing that I think is important, the oneness, the cause and effect, and the resonance. See, our families are drawing toward them everything they do not prefer, and they just have no idea that they're doing it. So what my hope is that every family that is becoming more open-minded and open-hearted, who is ready to transform fear, which is the familiar energy aligned with resistance, to freedom. Well, now, once they hear this radio show, once they pick up the book, once they hear anything else that goes, well, wait a minute, is she saying? What is she saying? Is she saying I have the power? Yes. Unlocking the hidden power is your resilience, wisdom, and genius that is just waiting to be reawakened and rediscovered. And so our families are sitting on a shift ton. The shift is sacred healing of individual and family trauma. It's a shift show out there. That's all that's really happening. They are sitting on their own potential, but they don't realize that that's who they are. And so the mission of my life is to share this information so that families can now choose, individuals can choose their own journey. Now, some will choose to stay in the heavy energy, and that's okay.
Sure.
That's okay. But what a lot of families are struggling with is, I don't want to, if they're awakening, they're like, well, I don't want to leave my mom behind. I don't want to leave my child behind. I don't want to leave my animals behind. Like, where does the vibe come from? Like, where are we all? Are we going together? Are we drifting? What are we doing? Right? And so that's one of the key questions that people ask me all the time is, I've got generations of family, and some are like, I'm staying in caterpillar mode. And there are others that say, I'm going into the chrysalis, or in the chrysalis right now. A lot of the generations of my family are in there. And then there's one or two of us that are like, okay, we made it through there. Okay, what can we do to allow or help others, should they want to discover? fear to freedom. If they want to be free, the great news is, first of all, we're already free. It's just that we didn't realize that yet.
Yeah.
So that is now the mission for me in this particular expression of life. I've lived actually 2 lifetimes. The first is coming through into the chrysalis energy, and the second life, as I went through kind of a life review, that awakening was like a near-death experience. Now, in this second portion of the show, I have an opportunity to stand in my sacred sovereignty and the heaven on earth that people actually are hoping for. Well, I have an opportunity to live that now, every moment of every day. And I just want families and individuals to know they can too. They absolutely can.
Yeah. Oh, that was a beautiful explanation, by the way. Thank you so much for that. And I love that you said the universe doesn't understand human. That makes so much sense. Can I use that? Because I love that.
Yes,
The
of
universe
course.
doesn't understand human. Because that's what I tell, like, I say this a lot. My part of the journey is the fun part, right? It's the getting into the playfulness and the creativity, but you have to do the deep inner work before you can start manifesting those things you want, because a lot of us stay in a victimhood, right? So if your energy is victim, then you're going to have more reasons to be victimized because you're attracting it and you're thinking, oh, I'm cursed. God doesn't love me. I'm a terror. No, that's not what it is. It's that you keep telling the universe, yeah, victimize me, victimize me, victimize me. So more situations come up for that to happen to you. And we understand that, those of us who have done a lot of the deep inner work. And by the time they come to my door, it's like, okay, we've already worked on all that stuff. Let's get to the fun stuff. Let's get to the magic. Let's get to the play. Let's get to manifesting what we really want. But I talk about in the book and on all my other shows, you really have to find someone, if you need help, to work with that can help you clean that up, to help you go inside and see what it is that you are still vibrating at. Like, are you vibrating at victimhood? Are you always complaining? Do you always have a problem? Is there always an issue? Are you in a lot of pain? Is there unresolved trauma, which is your specialty, right? So we need to clean those things up so that we can go and come out the other side for the second half of the life that we want. And yeah, you really described it really, really nice. Thank you for that again. So do you believe, since it's the ancestry, that in these roles that you were maybe a perpetuator in previous existences and previous lives, and so this time you chose to be the receiver of the trauma? Or do you feel that that is how it works when you say in family DNA and the ancestry of the family?
Right. And so the way I have been able to understand this so far, as I'm also a masterpiece in the making, is that in order to truly, the freedom for me, it really helped for me to stand in a neutral space, which means as a master of energy and creation, of course, I would have delved into the deepest, darkest part of energy, which means there's a terrorist in us all, right? And I've also been to the lightest and the highest levels of energy, right? And so to understand the totality of all of the duality of dark and light and all the roles and spectrum of that in between, I have experienced those roles in order to deepen my compassion, in order to deepen my unconditional love and forgiveness and things like that. And so when I see the world right now, I see the world as a kaleidoscope, or if you think of it as we're the largest 8.5 billion improvisational troupe of all time, right? We're all a perspective of a particular combination of archetypes, the light attributes and the shadow attributes. And that's really important because we want to understand all of that. And the divine creator wants to understand itself better through the lens of what it means to be human. And so as I look at what's happening in our world with wars or with governments or with systems of economics and technology and whatever all that is, you see, I see it all as an expression of love, just at different energetic vibrations. So the thing that really freed me was non-judgment, acceptance of all that is as it is in the now, trusting in divine love, divine timing, and divine order. So everything is just as it needs to be, so that everyone as a sovereign being can have the experience they chose. And for those who are serving as contrast to what we do not prefer, whether it's a person, a place, a thing, a situation, circumstance, or condition, they are souls holding the contrast, and their role is as important. And so to send unconditional love to every soul in whatever role and energy they're in has freed me from any concern about anything.
That's good. I mean, that is hard to do. So it's amazing that you have been able to facilitate that, because when you see, or you know, or you have a personal experience with somebody who does horrible, painful things and hurts others, to send them unconditional love is shows me, or tells me and tells all of us listening, how much evolution you have done personally, and all of us really need to do to elevate the energy of the whole planet. Because when we all do that on an individual basis, then the world will change, right? We know this. We know
Yes.
that that's how it works. We can't change anyone else. All we can do is change ourselves, and then the ripple effect happens. So speaking of that, what have you noticed in your own family since you started implementing all the practices that you share in your book?
Right. So this is interesting, because the first thing that I learned to do is to stay in my own lane, to know thyself, which took a while, to not say a word to anyone about my own journey, because it ended up being that my vibration was what kind of turned people in my direction, as it related to, well, what's going on with you? You seem happier. So I'm someone who explored the energy of addiction to opioids, alcohol, carbohydrates, purchases, every addiction you can imagine. And you're like, well, what are you doing now? Because you look really great. So rather than me sharing anything with anyone, I just did my own thing. People kind of, the energy kind of stood for itself. The other thing that I did, we did for 40 years, and we also as a couple came to heal some things. And we set an intention 3 years ago to go into our families, where we came from high families, and we really didn't like spending time with our families. We moved far away from our families. And so we turned back into the direction of our families with intention, paying attention and taking inspired action to sit in the discomfort of those reunions or holiday parties or whatever it was, to see how far we had come in the journey and to see what still needed to be healed for us, because our family members are just mirrors for our own inner self. And so what we noticed going in there was, as we became stronger and knew ourselves and loved ourselves, we held the energy within those environments, and we started to notice that our families felt safer to begin to speak about things, not everything, but some things. And so for the last 3 years, what we've noticed is we enjoy now being together. There has been quite a bit of family healing. Parts of our families grew more constricted in their energy. Other parts of our families became more expansive. And when they were interested in expanding, then I noticed they would call me, or they would ask me questions when we're together that they wouldn't have asked 3 years ago, mostly because I wasn't awake myself. So that's what we've noticed. We've noticed that we are healing, which is honoring the energy aligned with love, that is healed.
Okay.
And then we just intention, attention, inspired action. And it's healed the marriage for my husband and I. It's healed our families for those who are ready. And we just live much more joyfully. We have 2 granddaughters too. Those are our guides on the side, 6 and 4. And what the energy of our littles that is coming in is off the charts. I mean, it's
Right.
just beautiful to see
Yeah.
their wisdom, genius, and resilience shining through their souls at such a young human age.
Mm. Oh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Now, do you notice that with some family members, there was a separation because they weren't ready for the expansion? So maybe is there some people that you aren't speaking to at all, or you have no human connection with them any longer?
Well, it's interesting because my second sister, who we have been struggling since Sandbox, just called me in the last week. And so I'm in my 60s now, and she's in her late 50s. And we finally had that moment of healing. And so this is the shift in the energy. But here's what I would say. If your family members seem to be navigating the heavier energy, there are 3 reasons for that I've discovered so far. The first reason, is that their soul has chosen to stay in that energy to learn.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so we can choose to honor their sacred sovereignty. We don't know their soul contract and blueprint. We can't possibly know that. But what we can do is choose to see them as sacred and sovereign, which means their soul and their higher self knows what they're doing. So we're going to just love them where they are. The
Okay.
second reason that someone may be navigating the heavy energy is because they have already learned everything they need to learn, but they're holding the contrast for you or for someone else in the family. So
Okay.
their higher ideal is, oh, well, I kind of, even though subconsciously they're still in the heavy energy, their higher self is saying, no worries. I knew I was going to come in to hold contrast for the other members of the family, and I'm going to be as difficult as I can be because I want to awaken everybody else if I
Okay.
can. Right?
Okay.
That's the second reason. And the third that would be playing in the energy of which resentment, blame, victim, narcissist. I hear a lot about narcissism.
Yeah,
And
everybody uses narcissists now
everybody
for
uses,
everything.
yeah,
Right.
everybody is using the energy of that for some reason, but I think it's because everybody's kind of ready to heal it. But the
Right.
third reason would be that the person as a human and their sacred nature is so anchored in the unconscious and subconscious energies that they're really afraid. The fear, the familiar energy aligned with resistance, the collective consciousness, they are so afraid of what it might mean to be powerful, to be sovereign, that they will double down on, I'd rather stay in Plato's cave. I'd rather just, be distracted and stay on my tech and just be in my routine because I feel safest here. So for those particular souls, what I notice is their, I'll call it terror and anguish without measure is so deep. And the ancestral trauma and karma that they have amassed is so wide that it's just really difficult. Now, I believe in miracles, though. I believe in magic, and I believe in divine intervention. And so for those particular souls, here's what I believe in. The visions and dreams that I'm having for humanity right now is that there is no soul left behind. Everyone is exactly where they're meant to be. And so me staying in my own lane and sending unconditional love to everyone to ease their journey, whatever it is they decided to do, is perfect for them. And they're just serving as a mirror for me. That's it. Now I'm free. Now I'm even freer than I was a moment ago, right? And so it's dancing in the energy of freedom that I'm having such a good time in right now. And it's what I want to just infuse into the collective consciousness so that everyone understands the possibility and potential here is limitless. It's just a matter of what you choose. Just turn gently in the direction of the dream, and it is there waiting for you and your family.
Okay, I love that. So, what would you recommend for anybody listening? You have a family member. Let's say there's one particular person who is living out that role, and they're very abusive and they're bullying other members of the family. But you can't, remove yourself completely because of the family dynamics. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? Because I don't want to be, I'm just using myself as an example. I'm just saying for me personally, like I don't want to be the kind of person that would be the receiver of that energy while I'm sending them love to heal themselves, but still I'm being abused. You know what I mean? So
Well,
what do you do? What would you do in that, or how can we deal with that?
right. So this is a beautiful question because I had to do this very thing with my own father.
Okay.
So I have personal experience with this dynamic. So here's what I did. The very first thing I had to do was, and I did it in a very chaotic way. I had to rip myself out of the dynamic. In other words, I had to say, we're done. This thing right here, because as a human being, the very first most important boundary is your safety.
Exactly.
Your mental, emotional, physical safety, right?
Right.
And so I didn't live anywhere near him, so that wasn't the issue. But if you are, what I'm saying, and if you're of age, right? The very first thing is you kind of instinctively know something else is going on here, but I don't know what it is, but I need time to figure it out. So the very first thing is get yourself to safety, right? Now you're still confused and disoriented, though. You don't know what's going on because I had no idea who I was if I wasn't the firstborn daughter of this father, right? So now I've got to figure out what am I going to do. So I did 3 things initially that helped me. This was after the awakening process, okay, where I understood there was something else higher going on here. But the very first thing I did was I did something I had never done before, which was I asked for help from others that were professionals, kind of guides on the side. And I also asked for help in the non-physical. So I prayed for help. Please help me.
Okay.
I had no idea what that looked like, but I asked for help. Then I had to own my BS, which was my belief system.
Okay.
And I had to ask myself, what do I believe?
Right.
And I didn't know because I had taken on everybody else's belief.
Right.
So I had to start from scratch. So I asked, believe, BS, own my shift. What do I believe? And I started that work, and then receive. So now I had to do something that was very painful for me as someone who had been in the dark for so long, which was receive. How do I receive love from anyone? Because I didn't trust love, whatever love was.
Right.
Someone was trying, I couldn't accept a cup of coffee from my husband in the morning without breaking into tears. Why is someone being kind to me right now?
Right.
So I had to learn to receive. So ask for help, believe that the help is right there, and be willing, have the courage, this is the turning point, to receive the information. And I did that with intention, attention, and inspired action, not impulsive action. It took me quite a long time to understand what an inspired action was versus taking a drink, eating a donut, and hitting the one click button. Okay.
Right.
It took me a long little journey, know thyself. So that's as fast as I can tell you what it is that I did it sounds simple, but I got to tell you, it was showing up every day for myself first, because I had no idea who I was. No
Right.
idea.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's very, very helpful. Yeah, that is very helpful, because I'm sure a lot of people listening can resonate with that. You know, they know in the family there's someone or a few people in the family that really, you know, you have to if we're healing the family, the generations, and we're healing this, then we have to do the work, and you have to do it inside yourself first, and then it will resonate out. So Dr. Kelly, we only have a minute left. Is there anything that you want to say and let people know the best way to find you and get your book?
Sure. Let me end with this. Within every traumatized family, there lies a hidden power, a sacred potential waiting to be awakened and remembered. You can find me at onesacredfamily.com. May you and your family remember who you truly are today.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And yeah, check out her book. I mean, it's pretty amazing. What's Going On with My Family, A Roadmap to Healing Trauma. Thank you so much, Dr. Kelly. I think for the most part, you sounded good. We had a few little blips there, but overall, we could hear you loud and clear, and it was such a pleasure. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace.